Good morning. We'll call the November 19th Public Service Committee meeting to order. First item, is there anybody recording this meeting outside of us? No? All right, first item on the agenda is water sewer appeals. Dane, you said we have someone on Albion? Perfect. Good morning.
Morning.
How are you today?
Oh, fine.
Mr. LeBrecq?
Well, I'm Larry's brother.
Larry's brother? Okay.
He's in California.
Okay, what brings you here today?
Well, unfortunately, when my brother was here for about 2 weeks, when the water was on, the drain on the hot water tank was left open, which connects to a short hose that goes under the trailer and into the ground. Unbeknownst to him. So he's hoping to not have to pay all that sewerage.
And getting your recommendation on this?
Yeah, since it didn't enter the sewer system, I could recommend at least abating the sewer portion of the bill. You know, it looked like for the last, say, three billing periods, the total water usage was around $68, 69 bucks for the total, so we could figure out an average sewer use for, say, the last 4 bills and abate the rest.
Questions?
Just that you're a good brother coming here for.
Absolutely. We appreciate you showing.
I'm probably the one who didn't show up.
Now you're fessing up.
Yeah. That sounds fine to me. To make a motion to approve the DPW director's recommendation of averaging out, I'm going to summarize, but averaging out the bills and removing the sewer portion that's above and beyond normal for these past 3 bills.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll do that for you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks.
All right, thank you very much, and I think Dane, we'll have somebody get you the new bill.
I sent the bill. Well, your brother will be sent a bill.
Yeah, okay. I'll wake him up and tell him it's been done.
Well, it's 6 o'clock.
You are.
He's probably already up, right?
Bro.
Terry is going to be a call-in. We'll do that.
Okay, and we'll call in Terry.
No, I can help. Good morning, Terry. This is Dane Arnold from the DPW in Gardner.
Yes, I was expecting your call. Good morning.
Good morning. We have you on speaker at the Public Service Committee meeting.
Okay.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm Councilor Tassoni, we have Councilor Taros and Councilor T-Bone. He is with me as well.
Yes.
And you just want to tell us a little bit about your situation?
Okay.
Are you there?
Did we lose him?
Hello?
Did we lose you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Would you like to give us an explanation or a comment as far as what you're appealing?
Yeah, the bill came unexpectedly. As you know, I don't live in the area. That is rental property for the tenants only. And the lady on the second floor on the left-hand side said she had a leak a leak in the bathroom or something, but she did not think it was a major one. And I kept, I was not told in time. Actually, your people are the ones who called me, and I called the repair people immediately. But the bill is so high, I cannot afford it and afford the mortgage. Actually, the building has always given me a hard time because I have tenants who are not paying for. One was for 2 years, another one for 1 year. They were thrown out by the court system, and they didn't pay even a penny. So I'm struggling with the mortgage unless I sell and forget all about it. I'm a single mom. I'm a single mother. I'm just working so hard to see that I can put things together, And I have always paid my bills. It is my first priority, really, to pay my bills. So I was just requesting, since it was not put to my attention, honestly, I didn't know about it. I wouldn't. I'm very responsible person. I wouldn't have let it go to that much, without attending to it.
Thank you. Dane, thoughts here?
Unfortunately, it went through the water meter and it also went into the sewer system. Typically in the past, the committee has not given an abatement. They've given monthly payments or a payment plan. But that's up to the committee to.
Yeah. Well, I'm open to comments, concerns.
How much more was the bill than the typical bill amount?
It looks like the typical bill, it varied anywhere between, say, 900 and 550 for the last, say, 4 billing periods, and then this one is 3,000.
Ever since I got the building.
Yes. 6 times higher, between 5 and 6 times.
And just so I'm clear in how I'm hearing the events that unfolded, you had a second floor tenant that had a toilet leak. They did notify you, but they didn't raise it as a major concern, and then you didn't really know about the scope of the issue until the DPW had sent you a high usage card.
Yes, they called me actually also and said there is something, there must be something going wrong here, and that's how I learned about it.
And you said you had a plumber come out to the property, and what was it, the toilet that was the issue?
Right away, it came right away, the day I learned of the problem.
And he stated this was the only issue?
Yes, that was the only issue.
May.
And he repaired it immediately, and he gave me a bill of $200. I sent you a copy.
How many tenants are in the apartment building?
There are 4 tenants.
And
It's a 4-unit building.
4 units.
Yeah.
And this leak was only in one particular unit?
Yes, on the left-hand side, on the second floor.
And do we have a subsequent bill after this? I'm just curious.
Until the section 8 tenant.
I don't believe we do. I can ask if we've got a second reading, but
I'm just curious.
Make sure it's
Yeah.
resolved, yeah. We're just gonna check to make sure that the usage is back to normal levels.
Yes, please.
Excuse me.
she said they did go out, and it appears it went back to normal. So it looks like the leak was fixed.
there's some way to give her some relief, aside from the payment plan, I support that. I don't know what that amount is.
Ma'am, out of fairness and consistency for the committee, understanding that this was a tenant that, you know, you're not physically residing at the property, relying on the tenants to provide accurate information to you. It sounds like the problem was a bit larger than they had reported, and it does sound like, you know, you were a responsible owner and fixed the issue right away. You spent time with us this morning, which we appreciate, explaining the issue. So I would be willing to support, out of consistency, a $500 reduction in the bill, with the remainder to be put on a payment plan to ease the burden, to help you with this situation. I'll make that a motion.
Second.
So you are going to do that to reduce it by 500?
That's correct. So we're just gonna make this motion really quick, and then we'll open up for discussion really quick. So motion made and seconded, and now we'll open it up for discussion. So, did you have questions? Ma'am?
Yeah, well, it's still very, very high. I don't know what to do because, you know, the bill is just too high. I will not be able to pay. Struggling with the bill, with the mortgage for that place for 2 years. Those people didn't pay until the court system helped me to throw them out. And I was up to date all this time. I haven't had any single cent to myself. I'm already paying for that building.
I empathize with you, ma'am, and what we've agreed to do, and typically, from a payment plan perspective in the past, Dean, how long can we spread that?
It's usually done in a year. So I'm just quickly saying, if it's $3,000, $500 reduction, it would be down to 25 divided by, it would be a $208 monthly payment. We also waive the interest on that, any interest accrued. So it would be $208 per month.
So ma'am, I know initially that the amount seems extremely large, but what we're willing to do here is make that payment about $208, approximately $208 with no interest over the next 12 months for you, to kind of ease that burden on from a bill perspective, and completely understand the struggle, but at the same time, from a tenant accountability standpoint, we can't control that piece. So I do appreciate you coming on the call for us. Did you have anything else you wanted to say to us? Hopefully that.
There is nothing else, as I really appreciate for the, you know, for the discount and the arrangement. I'm trying to pay for it. So I'm going to start paying at the end of this month, and then when the normal bill comes, I will pay. I would request that when the normal bill comes, I cannot add on 200 and more to be, you know, over $1,000 plus the mortgage. I will not be able to handle it. So I was requesting that when the normal bill comes, I pay, and I don't add on the 200 and over, because if I would have the money, I'm just an aid. If I had the money, I would have money. I'm struggling big time, like never
expressing, in taking the time to talk to the committee. Unfortunately, from a precedent standpoint, we kind of have to remain consistent with how we handle these situations. And we are kind of went a little above and beyond the norm. For
I
you.
understand that, but is it okay when the bill comes of 900 or whatever it is, the normal bill? Should I just skip that 1 month and then I continue? So the bills come, I think, 3 or 4 months or 3 times in a year. Can I skip the 200 and something, those 4 times, in order to pay for the water bill?
So the next thing.
The number one?
Her next bill would be in December-ish. I think what she's asking is to skip that bill, is that,
Skip the extra
Yeah.
on the normal
Yeah,
billing
the
cycle.
extra, yes.
on this next one?
That's fine.
Is it possible?
Can we make that happen? Well, we can amend, do we want to amend that?
Make an amendment to not charge the payment, payment plan amount for the December, to leave it for the December, or not to leave it
For
to,
the next 4, I think she's talking about.
Bills.
oh, for the next 4 payments, and then the payment plan to resume.
Is my understanding you want to start the payment plan in January?
Yes, please.
Yeah,
Okay.
so just to waive it for a month.
Okay, we're waiving the payment plan payment for the month of December,
To start.
in January.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
I really appreciate it. I'm sorry.
You do not have to be sorry. You do not have to be sorry.
That's why I cried. Yes, I'm just so sorry for that.
Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great holiday coming up
Thank
here.
you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to take Chelsea off.
Let me go just
I
double
think,
check.
yeah,
if there's
sure.
something.
And we'll
I
have
believe National Grid's here though.
Okay, good.
You want me to bring them in if Chelsea's here?
Mm-hmm.
I should, sorry. I'm not-
Go ahead.
I nodded yes because I didn't take the note.
They're not here, we're gonna take a motion to remove this.
Chelsea Street's not here, but National Grid is.
Okay.
Make a motion to remove 49 Chelsea Street abatement from our agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So Chelsea Street is now removed from the agenda. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Okay, we're item number 2, a petition by National Grid, City Hall Ave, to install underground facilities, install 1 pad mounted transformer and 20 feet of conduit in the, or parking lot of Main Street in Pleasant Street, Gardner, Mass. And we're here today to support it.
Yes.
Can I ask one question off the top? Why was there nobody present for the public hearing?
I don't know, I was never informed about it, so I don't know, if that was something on our end, or if the clerk, cause usually our union, rep will get sent the petitions from the clerk, and then he distributes them out, according to all the overtime stuff, all that union thing, so. I don't know where the disconnect was. We've had a lot of turnover with our clerk position recently. Literally within the past 2 months, we've had 3 or 4 clerks. So I don't know if something was lost, like where it was sent to one clerk and then they moved on and then didn't send it, so I don't know, but,
You wanna just take us through what this looks like?
Sure.
From a process standpoint?
So we're using the existing conduit that's there. The customer did a test pit, and we were able to make sure that it was the right size and it was concrete encased and everything. So we're using that existing conduit to bring primary up to a new pad location. It's not gonna take up any parking spaces, luckily. So install that new pad, and we're gonna refeed the lights. There's a light control box there in that parking lot, and the building from that new pad. So I think that's really the only new thing going in. Obviously, we're gonna swap out the wires that are in the conduit over to the vault or the old vault that's there. And then it's just conduit going from that vault over to the pad location.
Is this like a seamless transfer where power won't, how long will power be out of?
It shouldn't be too long. That'll end up getting coordinated between the customer who's doing the civil work and our crew. I don't know, could be, a day, could be.
And we'll send
less.
notifications to anybody impacted, correct?
Yes, although it's only the lights and the building, which they already know that they're gonna be
Okay.
taking some sort of outage or swap over for that, so those should, as far as I know, according to our records, those are the only people on that, off that line, so.
If I may, it might be worth, I think we got a report that transformer and location at 25 Main Street does feed it does feed other buildings in the area potentially. I remember that being mentioned.
I thought so too, that's why I asked the question.
Right, so.
I don't see anything on our maps for it, I
Okay.
don't know if,
It's just because there are other businesses, so if that's during business operations time, then we'd like to notify them.
yeah, I had them do a manhole survey of that vault, and there's only wires going to the building, back to the pole, and
Okay.
and over to the light box. So unless there's something past the light box that I don't know about, but I think any like the bank across City Hall is fed from their own transformer in the parking lot. The businesses across Main Street are fed from behind, the other businesses across Pleasant Street are fed from behind, so I think it's just the lights in that building, so I don't,
Good to know.
yeah,
There had been talk at one point about, I believe, feeding 210 Parker Street, kind of off the same.
we looked at that, but the distance was an issue with voltage drop. We ran a couple of simulations with that, and there was too much voltage drop for us to guarantee, and especially depending on what sort of equipment they have there for the apartments and whatever other businesses that might go in there. I didn't feel comfortable putting that in. We talked about possibly putting a transformer in that little, the other end of the building, but there's not a whole lot of room there. And then, so I have another plan in the works to put a transformer on West Lynn Street, but again, that's a separate issue. I mean, unless you wanna talk about it now, but it is. So,
Questions?
I don't have questions.
No, I don't have any questions, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to,
Motion to recommend
Recommend.
approval of the petition.
Yeah,
Second?
motion made and seconded. All those, any more discussion on the motion?
Just thank you, National Grid representative, for coming out today. This is helpful to have this, and I know certainly the business is looking forward to this proceedings.
We do appreciate it, and typically we see you at public hearings, and we just didn't want this to become something habitual where we don't have you at a public hearing if we have questions that arise.
yeah,
And
like I
know,
said, it's very weird that, because usually the guy we had before that was our clerk, he was very good. In fact, sometimes you'd send things to him, and if you hadn't assigned him in the right thing or uploaded something to our system, he would send it back to you within 5 seconds. It was kind of weird, actually. But, so I'm gonna try to figure that out on my end, because
Appreciate
the
that.
customer told me that there was a hearing, but I hadn't heard about it, so I was wondering if it was some different thing that wasn't sent to us, or if it was, but I'll try to find that out on my end, so that doesn't happen again.
thank you very
Appreciate
much.
that.
So
Thank you.
motion made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you so much.
There's gonna be another petition now for this, though, petition hearing, or is this just so that way
We had the public hearing at our city council meeting.
Sure.
We just weren't able to give a recommendation as a subcommittee, so now we can go back to the council with our recommendation.
okay, so there won't be another, petition hearing that we send someone to at this
No,
point?
we'll have a vote
Just-
at the next city council.
Okay,
So it should be
I
on the
believe so,
agenda.
yeah,
okay.
which is December 2nd.
December 2nd. Okay. Alright, thanks so much.
Thank
Appreciate you stopping by.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks, Will.
Dane, there was a gentleman, is that for something else? Or
Poke their head
he
in.
did poke his head in, I'm not sure.
Let me go check.
I know we've already removed it from the calendar.
No, just no.
Okay, good. All right, just wanted to double check.
Yeah.
All right, so, next segment of the agenda is department updates. So we'll start with Dane and all that you cover.
Okay, we have completed the 2024 season of paving. We actually we did Washington and Logan, Meadowbrook, Diamond Drive, Housley, Tiffany Boulevard down there, Hannaford. We also installed 3 pedestrian push-button crosswalk signals for that, and we also extended the island up Main Street a little bit because of that crosswalk was kind of a blind spot, so we completed that. Fredette Street in Wilkins, that's completed. We added a new sidewalk, the entire length. We drive down it a couple times a week and see people walking the street. I don't know if they're walking at lunchtime or something, so.
It's much better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lower Parker Street, that's completed from the town line up to where the old gem building was. And also Coleman Street off of Fredette, the 2 dead-end streets that done. So that's been complete. We actually ended up saving a little bit of money over the course of the year. So we ended up having enough money, city money, to pave Bridge Street. That's completed. That street was probably one of the worst streets in the city. That's now complete. There's last fiscal year money left over from Chapter 90, so we're gonna apply that in the spring and hopefully get out there in the spring and try to hit some streets. And then the state also will hopefully allocate Chapter 90 as well. And the city just approved, I think it was $273,000. That will be ready to go in the spring too as well. If we can find a street that needs to be paved.
I got it.
And as everyone knows, I make up a list, I come up with $10 million worth of streets, sit down with the mayor, and we go over. It's the mayor that ultimately makes the.
And he changes it. I'm joking, I'm joking.
Also, we're trying to, the mayor, and DPW was working together to try to get a grant to pave, now that the Rotary's done, the town Rotary, now Green Street, Pearl, Elm, all the streets that tie into it, we're looking at trying to get a grant to have that all done, as well as Chestnut Street. So hopefully if we can get grant money, we'll be paving a lot of streets next year.
Will some of that be done just as part of the water work that's being done right now?
The water work can cover Haywood, all the way up Haywood, across Green, and then we'll jump up to James Street and be able to pave James Street as well with water use, because that was dug up from the water department, so, all the contractors, so that will be done as well next year. Any questions on paving?
Just on, and we brought this up earlier in the year, and I gotta follow back up with the mayor, but looking at Corsham Street, now half of the street is city-owned, but the beginning of the street is not city-owned, and it's a wreck, you know, and it's a very high walking, people walk up and down that consistently. From a procedural standpoint, do I need to submit something to the mayor, once again?
Well, the city can do it a couple different ways. The citizens of the street can petition to have a betterment done. We've only done a few of them, like we've done one since I've been here. So they get, I think I'm making this up, but I think it's 2/3 of the citizens of the street have to agree to have the betterment, to go along with the betterment. The city comes in, they do survey work, they bring the street up to a city, at least a city standard, and then the city passes a breakdown, it's usually done on the amount of frontage each homeowner has, and they assign a betterment for 20 years that they pay through their taxes. The city could also just say, nope, we're gonna bite the bullet and bring the city up to at least the standard and accept the street. So it would involve survey work and construction work as well. So it could be done a couple different ways.
Unless you have like an off-road vehicle, it's very difficult to
Yeah.
travel up and down that street. Okay, I'll follow up, thank you. Any other questions on paving?
Are the street, sidewalk painting, is that season also over, or is there still?
Yeah, it's too
Too cold.
yeah.
Just had a resident suggest, when you come from the new Crystal Lake Park up towards the hockey rink, if you kind of take that left and a game is leaving or coming, there's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And there's some shrubbery or plants that hang over, but I thought it was a good suggestion to have like a crosswalk painted so that cars kind of give space for people who are connecting from the Crystal Lake bike path to the like the water station part of the bike path through
Okay.
but I know that's a state, so I don't think we
Yeah, I mean, we can
could
maybe,
work with them.
I don't know if they would, I would assume they would work with us.
Right,
I don't
so
remember.
just something to,
Yep.
to look into to see if it's safety improvement opportunity.
Sounds like it.
All set on paving?
Is there a priority for the leftover chapter 90 funds for the spring? And where is it's just going to whatever the next streets are on the list?
I'm gonna update the city's paving priority list, and at that point I will give it to the mayor.
Okay.
And then I will sit down and,
It hasn't, yeah, it hasn't changed since you sent it out to us.
no, other than we've picked off a
Yeah,
couple of
Couple
streets.
streets, yeah, okay.
Salt shed across the street, the council approved money, it was last fiscal year. We were able to, because of that, we were able to bid out plans and specs for the salt shed. So we were lucky to get the money when we did, because it takes time, we had to go through the bidding process. It's a public bid, it takes about 2 months to do this. Once we get the plans and specs, once we get a rough idea of what we want, they develop plans and specs. Now we get the plans and specs back, we have to bid those out to have it erected from a company. So that's, now, we're past that. We've hired a tree company that is currently clearing the trees across the street, and we'll be renting an excavator. I just took bids on an excavator to rent for probably 2 to 3 months, that our DPW crew over the winter will be doing the rough site work to pull the stumps and haul them off-site and get it prepped. Come spring, we can come in and pave the site and then start putting the blocks up, and we'll have the company that we bid out come and erect the salt shed. So it's a long process, because we have to go through bidding procedures and design, have it designed and whatnot. So we're hoping it's gonna get, at least we're gonna start installing it next spring.
Should be completed next year.
Yes.
And is the plan to use the current salt shed, or is it condemned?
No, this year, we're gonna use it, and then we're just not gonna, towards the end of the year, try not to buy salt, so we won't have to truck it over there when it's done, so
Makes
that's the
sense.
plan. And then we're trying to come up with an idea of just a green space or something down there to, once that's removed, so. It's just, it's a public process, and it takes way longer than it should, so. Tree trimming. The council approved $40,000 last year to hire a company to come in and do tree trimming. We went out to bid. It's a little over 10 grand a week to have this company come in. So we got about 4 weeks of this company. We had the tree list that was, after a tree hearing, we gave them the list. Part of the bid was to have them come down and remove the upper part of the tree, just so that, to make it safe. If I were to have them remove the whole tree, I would have had to have them bring in another log truck, which would have doubled the cost. We would have got half as many trees down. So our crew now can come in, I'm gonna use Woodland Avenue. When you drive by Parker Street and look down Woodland Avenue, it doesn't look good, but we're gonna come in behind them. We'll be able to manage those trees, drop them down, and get either leave the wood for the residents, for the butters, or haul it away.
Do we have a timeline? Not yet, on doing this?
We're done cleanup, so we're gonna start working on that right away.
Okay.
But that does get us to our bucket truck. Our bucket truck is inspected. At some point, we're gonna have to dump about $35,000 into the bucket truck. So we're looking at what we can do on that, but we're hoping that we won't be able to we won't necessarily need the bucket truck to do a lot of this work, so.
Yeah, and I'm glad you explained the tree trimming, because I've received several emails, and I'm not sure about fellow councilors, but just the overall look, to your point, you know, I look at Waterford Street when I drive up it every single day, and I know the plan is to get those down, so yeah, I do appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you.
Yeah, we could have included the log truck.
Makes
and,
sense.
Yeah, so we were just trying to make it safe, you know, the more trees we can make for public safety reasons, so.
We made it safe, and we're trying to save us some money, so that's two good things.
Yeah. Do you wanna talk the transmission line? I'll
Yeah.
skip that.
Yeah.
Alright. We are gonna be going out to bid for the leachate pump station, which is located down in the sanitary landfill, down off of West Street. That pump station takes flow from the sanitary landfill and the sludge landfill. That has been designed and we're ready to go out to bid. I believe it's vintage 1980 pump station. It's on the brink, so we're going to go out to bid. We're estimating it's gonna be around $800,000. So I'm gonna be going to the council to ask for not only the construction costs, but also a company to oversee the construction of the project itself. So they'll be asking the council that probably within the next month. I'll be asking for that. That's out of sewer, it's not coming out of the city as well. We did down at the DPW garage, we have we'll call it a crane hoist. That's vintage 1970 that came with the building when they installed it. We use this to lift up plows that could weigh anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 pounds. It's 50 years old and it's starting to not be safe. So we put together a bid.
It just made me feel old.
It's 6 months younger than I am. So.
We're on the same page. We're on the same page.
So we went out to bid for this particular, to replace the crane hoist, and it's $129,000. So I had, because of various transfers from sludge landfill material and whatnot over the years, I'm able to pay $29,000 out of it, but I'm gonna be asking the council for $100,000 to pay for this particular piece of equipment, which we use it for fixing plows and other things as well. I can't buy it out of snow and ice because it's not related to treatment, it's related to maintenance, so I have to ask for out of either capital fund or general fund. Questions? Just to give you, just heading into the winter, the equipment that we have is starting to get old, and we're starting to lose some of the pieces of equipment. For instance, we have 3 loaders. One is from 1999, and the other 2 are from 2002. We're keeping a log of what we're dumping into maintenance for these particular pieces of equipment, and the 2002 Caterpillar loader, we've almost spent $75,000. It is currently down at CAT, needing a $30,000 replacement. I've called it, we're bringing it back, we're taking it out of commission, so I can't justify putting this much more money into a used piece of equipment that's 22 years old. So we're starting to lose some of our equipment. We have a 10-wheeler that's out of service, we have a loader that's out of service.
One of the 3 or an additional?
No, we have 6 loaders, one of them is out of service. The other one, we're gonna limp along at least for another year. To give you an idea of what these things cost now, when I started, they were $125,000, they're now up to $250,000 they've doubled in cost. A 10-wheeler is $383,000, and a 6-wheeler is $293,000. That's, unfortunately, everything we have down here isn't cheap.
And I'm assuming because of the wear and tear that this type of equipment isn't offered in any type of lease form?
We did look at lease, it doesn't work for the municipality.
Okay. From a cost perspective?
Cost
or from
perspective,
a
and
maintenance
a lot of them, they don't even do it. not
Okay,
municipal,
yeah, no, just throwing it out there.
Well, because we looked at it for the sweeper, and they wouldn't do it with us, so. So, as far as the city, I have been kind of offsetting some of the equipment costs since we merged water and sewer with the DPW. I'm able to buy a 10-wheeler and we can share it for water breaks, but we can also share it for the highway and whatnot. So we've done that over the course of the year. The city since 2013 has contributed $500,747,000 to equipment, and it averages around $41,000 a year. But when the equipment costs are, you know, between $100,000 and $300,000, it's, so at some point, I'm gonna be asking the city, we need to start putting some money into equipment.
Absolutely.
I hate to be the squeaky wheel, but
Well, I mean, when you start, you're paying $41,000 a year to repair things, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Or whatever the number is, I know it's probably more than that, but, it's crazy.
But, I mean, on the equipment side, when you mentioned the overgrowth, that just reminded me that there's been a number of complaints about safety or coming around corners or not, or not seeing signs posted and stuff like that because of the overgrowth. And is that something that's in the, that machine, is that, I know you mentioned in the email, it was like $97,000 to fix. Is that something that's on the priority list for equipment too?
it's on the list, and our mechanic, we're going to get it so that it can at least limp for a while. But, I mean, you're talking about a heavy piece of equipment with blades and stuff. We're gonna make it as safe. We're gonna go out, remove the brush, what we can, but at some point, that cutter at least is gonna come out of service, and that's a $97,000 piece of equipment. That's all I got.
Well, wait a minute, I'm gonna back you up.
Oh,
Because
right.
you typically give us a nice little update from a staffing perspective, so
Okay.
you wanna,
I did have it on here.
Okay,
I
I
don't know how
figured
much
you
time
did.
you guys had. So we are filling some vacancies. The union just updated their contract. Both unions, they have signed a understanding, an agreement. We are starting to fill some vacancies. I believe I'm down 5 employees right now on the city side, which includes 2 mechanics. But we are starting to fill the equipment.
Mhm.
However, I'm going to stop filling. I'll hire a mechanic, but I'm gonna stop hiring any additional staff because the contract is gonna cost the city quite a bit of money, and I don't wanna have to be facing layoffs at the end of the year. I've frozen overtime, so we're not doing overtime unless there's an emergency or we have to do certain things, like we have to go put up wreaths, so it's easier to do when there's no traffic, so we do that at night, but as of right now, we're even freezing overtime, just to try to save the city, you know, an impact of this contract, so. At the end of the fiscal years, we used to, because we were short-staffed, I had money left over in the maintenance crew line item,
Mhm.
so I used to go and at the end of the year, I asked the finance or the council to transfer money from, my salary account to my operating, because I'm not gonna have that luxury this year, so I basically have $100,000 in my crew line item right now, if I don't hire anyone, that I will try to offset overtime and some of the expenses that come up, but it's not gonna be enough. And I have let the mayor and auditor know that, so.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other questions for Dean?
Do you feel better going into this winter, staffing wise?
Staffing wise now, yes.
Good.
Of course, now it's the equipment, so yeah, that's why I hate.
In his labor budget.
No, as far as staff, yeah, I feel better going.
So that was a big
It's
concern
good.
this year.
You look, when you talk about it, you can tell the difference. It's good.
Might be because it's Friday morning though, too.
That's true. Rob?
I have a far shorter list than Dave does, but some basic updates for you. The Uptown Rotary project, as you know, it's basically done. As far as I see, the state has a small punch list, but the biggest thing I see is we don't have street signs up yet. I know Dane's Lines and Signs was working with the contractor to get matching signs. So, in fact, I need to contact the contractor to see when he's picking them up and when he's putting them out. So that project's basically done. The sludge landfill project, I think the last time we talked, we were waiting for a report from the state on the overall state of sludge, I'll call it, within the state. The DEP has actually released that study. I know we've all been through it. If you'd like to see it or read it, I can send you the link for it. It's definitely interesting. It focuses a lot on what communities are doing with it, and not necessarily the costs, but the costs are discussed. But it's a little eye-opening in what communities are going to be faced with their sludge. So in light of that, we have been holding back on moving forward with our permitting with the sludge landfill. We actually met yesterday with our consultant, so we're going to start that up again. We're working with MEPA on submitting our draft environmental impact report. That includes a public information session, which we haven't scheduled, but we will be soon. We're looking at the overall schedule on when we're submitting to the state and how that works into it, but it will be sometime after the first of the year. The report from the state will be available. I believe a copy of our draft environmental impact report will be made available for public review in advance of the public the public meeting. So we are moving on that again, and hopefully that's into MEPA in the early part of the year, so we can continue moving on that. Any questions?
Yeah. So this is, just to be clear, this is a review for the current sludge landfill or the expansion, the potential expansion? And then also, what are the concerns within, I'd like a copy of the report, but what are the concerns with regard to, for communities with regard to dealing with sludge that are kind of like eye-opening to you?
Well, I think it's more the future of sludge with the escalating costs of trucking. There's issues with some states actually land apply sludge, so it gets treated, dried, and then they can be used as a fertilizer or a soil amendment. Massachusetts, you can't do that. And some other states that have allowed it in the past are getting away from it, and one of the issues is PFAS. So PFAS is even a concern for incinerating facilities, and so it's getting, basically the summary of the report is it's getting harder and harder to get rid of your sludge. The takeaway for me for that is that if we have an expansion available and communities with landfills have an advantage over those who do not, because it's getting harder and harder to truck it somewhere else. But I can certainly send you that report. That doesn't necessarily, that's a DEP report for the entire state. It looks at all communities who produce sludge, and it's a summary of kind of what they do with it and what cost moving forward will be. I believe there's a second part of this report that will come out in the future that talks more I believe about regulation for it in the future and things like that. So there's more to it, but it's just interesting to read and then to be able to place kind of our situation compared to everybody else's. So I can certainly, I'll send you the report.
And to be we're in pretty good shape. If we have our own sludge landfill, I'm gonna still push forward with the recommendation that the city goes with the sludge landfill. It's getting less and less states are taking sludge from out of state, which means Maine, Rhode Island. Eventually they're either gonna eliminate it or they're gonna limit it, which is only gonna make more demand within the state and pay more for trucking and for disposal. It's just gonna drive the cost up over the course of the next 20 years. So.
What I wasn't aware of this, but some communities actually ship their sludge to Quebec, which of course is compared to, the cost would be exorbitant for us if we had to do something like that. But it's getting harder and harder to truck it because of the issues with dealing with it.
Another question,
Yep.
not related to this, to the Rotary. So constantly getting calls and emails about the Rotary. Like for me, I drive through it, I have a young driver, just, you know, she's on her permit, she goes through, I feel like it's safer, right, because it's more narrow, it slows cars down. But the complaints that I'm getting, I think, it may be that people aren't used to driving through it, but I've had people talking about tires being blown out, hitting the curb. People are still kind of edging out, but it feels more dangerous, because, you know, they're not just shooting in, but they're just kind of like there's all these, I did request, just so you know, I requested a report from the chief of police, just to see, you know, has there been an uptick in accidents in the rotary? But I don't know if there's something, I guess the question is, I know it's a state project, but is there any kind of improvements that we might be able to make based on resident feedback around kind of how they're experiencing the rotary? I'm just curious, because I want to give an answer to my residents who are expressing these concerns.
I mean, we can certainly, if we have specific complaints that we can see if there's a solution, I mean, we're open to looking at anything. I mean, it's been my experience, and I know I would contribute most people's complaints to the fact that other drivers are not familiar with it. And I think in the beginning, similar to when the rotary was done on Timpani by the state, and it went to kind of a single lane, and people were up in arms about how, you know, trucks aren't gonna be able to get through there, and how's the fire department gonna get through if a car's broken down? And I've never heard a single complaint since it kind of was finished and has been in operation. Similar to
the
this.
same thing as in the downtown. Do you remember when we went to the stop signs and that was blown up? Even you think it's bad now? It was blown up. I think it was blown up worse when we went to the two-way downtown, and that's kind of gone away.
Yeah.
What I responded to a resident was that the state still has, like you said, a punch list, so I've seen equipment still like patching things up and stuff, so it's still a construction site, and I think when signs get finalized and things of that nature, people will be more confident going through it.
Can we push a button like when the bumpers come up and blow?
Yeah, well,
Another thing we notice is that if a vehicle's on Elm Street and a car's on the rotary and they wanna turn down Pearl, a car would push too far through Elm and you couldn't make that turn.
Right,
So
yeah,
we moved the yield sign back a little bit in the line, just to try to make improvements, and I have seen the cars are kind of staying out of the rotary. It's gonna take some getting used to, and that's ultimately what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and you'll always have people from out of town who've never driven through the area who may cause a problem, and people see that. And I think it's been my experience since, you know, it's kind of been fully open. I think people are more aware, and I think the local, you know, drivers are more used to it. I know when I come up to it, I always tend to yield and give plenty of space up to the rotary, and that's just what people need to do. Well, they always know, and there'll always be people at Elm and Pearl who, you know, creep out too far and people can't turn on Pearl, and you'll hear honks and screams. And overall, I think it's a huge improvement in that area.
Slowing people down.
Yeah.
It was a high traffic accident area, that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons it was done, because it met that criteria for the state, because there were so many people
Nobody
getting in
stopped.
accidents, yeah.
Yeah, Elm Street was brutal,
Yeah.
People just flew right into it. And I have seen people coming in out of Elm Street a little faster than they should be, because it's better, but Elm Street is still the most opportunistic entry into the rotary. But if there were an uptick in accidents at the rotary due to its geometry, at least they're going to be minor. And more fender bender, where I think previously it was open to higher speed crashes. So, the last time I spoke with the police, they hadn't really seen anything or had any. And then the day after I talked to them, I thought I heard a call on the scanner while I was in my truck that they had an MVA at the rotary. So, you know, maybe they've had some accidents and maybe they've got some reports, but you know, I definitely think it's an improvement.
So is there any complaints that I haven't heard any, but of like larger vehicles, like the 18-wheeler, that kind of things going?
I mean, it's designed for them, and truckers know this, they
Just
can
a
drive
truck
over, yeah. I actually sat out there one Friday afternoon for about a half an hour, and I saw two 18-wheelers go through, and they both were cautious going through. One truck, his rear wheels just went over the curb, not even onto the red concrete, and the other one actually made it through without touching it. I couldn't believe it. So, you know, a careful driver's gonna go slow, take it easy. But then you have people who know that they can drive over, they're called mountable curbs, and they're there for a reason. So it's designed for large truck traffic, and, you know, nobody's reached out to complain that it's undrivable, or, you know, I couldn't get my truck through. So I think it's a success.
Thank you.
The transmission water main project, if you've been through that area, the contractor up to this point has been great. They're speeding right along. They've actually gone from Crystal Lake, they've gone up the hill up to James Street, installing 16-inch water main to this point. They're clean and courteous, so they're doing a great job. Part of that project also includes, we're installing underground conduit alongside the water main for future upgrades to James Street Pump Station to run fiber optic between Crystal Lake and James Street. So part of that in the future, which I believe we have the funds for now, or we'll be getting the funds for through the federal government. So similar to the transmission main project, they're going to fund eventually the upgrades to James Street. So so that project will also allow communication directly between Crystal Lake Treatment Facility and James Street, modernizing, you know, the SCADA system and running the water system. So that project's moving right along, faster than I had hoped, so that's good. And they've been great to work with. Hopefully they'll be, I don't know if they'll be done before the end of the year, but hopefully they'll be wrapping up within a month or two.
Good. I was gonna ask you about a timeline, but thank you.
Yeah, we don't have a timeline from them, but, you know, judging how quickly they've been moving, it may slow down, you know, towards the end, because they then have to make connections at both ends to the water system, which will take a little bit longer, but, you know, once they're set up to do it, it should be a day to make those connections, so. They just have to be careful, because of course, it's our water system, and something goes badly, it'll go badly, but
So
that's not gonna happen.
So just, I think we talked about it a little bit, but once we do make those connections, is there gonna be a gap from a water perspective? It won't impact, there'll be no impact, correct?
There shouldn't be any interruption.
There's
Because we can
no
still keep the
lines.
tanks
Yep.
online to feed the system and whatnot. While we were out there and we were looking, we looked into the map, into our water plans, and since how we were right on Haywood Street, we decided to do a change order to go down to Green in front of the Congo Church. It's about 400 feet of additional pipe, so the city asked the company to do a change order to basically install new pipe to connect this transmission main with the the new water main that we just installed on Green Street where it ended. So we were about 400 feet, so we did a change order, so that's gonna be all brand new pipe.
Excellent.
Very good.
The pedestrian bridge project, we got a Mass Trails grant for that. Our consultant is back on, they have a new contract for that work. So we have a rough schedule of them moving forward. So they're under contract right now for 75% design of the bridge and site work. The rough schedule I have right now is that it should be completed by the end of May of next year, of 2025. So for that, the newest round of Mass Trails has opened up, so I anticipate applying for the remainder of the funding to complete the design. The key to that is I have to have this round spent by June 30th of 2025, so I'm just trying to confirm with our consultant that, you know, if there's any hiccups, will we still get it done? Otherwise, I can't get the money for the 2026 round of Mass Trails. But I'm hopeful we'll get that, and then I think it'll all work out. So keep that moving along. And then my final thing is, and I don't know if we talked about this at our last meeting, our GIS coordinator has actually left the city, so at the moment we don't have a GIS coordinator. However, we had some applicants, we did some interviews, and we have an offer out to a candidate, and she is anticipated to start on December 2nd. She currently works for Mass Audubon doing GIS work for them, and they're kind of like their land department. So she was highly qualified, she seems like she'll fit right in, so you know, we're looking forward to getting her started, and then, you know, catching up on things that aren't getting done currently. But yeah, so it looks good there. That's all I have for you today.
Thank you. I think you talked 5 minutes longer than Dave. Thank you for your information. Justin?
So I don't really have any major updates from the Conservation Department. I guess the only couple I have for the moment are that the extension of the bike path and nature trail is coming well underway. I believe that because of our return to normal weather after our longest stretch of inclement weather that we've had with the drought, we had to delay the start of the paving over the subgrade, but they should be starting that process next week, and they'll be following up with updates as to when they'll be applying the top coat and when they'll be seeding for that. I'm also going to be working with one of the consultants to the city and working on an MVP action grant for replacement of a critical condition stream crossing off of Keys Road. We sent our intent application for the grant a few weeks ago, and we're waiting to hear back for the next step in the cycle. And hopefully, fingers crossed, with enough time put into it, we can receive the financial assistance that we need in order to carry the process through. And other than that, I'm just really enjoying getting comfortable with the job and everything that comes with it. So, yeah, that's it for me.
Very good. One comment I have is where that trail meets with residents' homes by the National Grid
By the
Station.
National Grid Station.
Where it lands into the current rail bed. I had
Okay.
a resident concerned about some of the material that was pushed up against chain link fence and, and the kind of natural swale across from it. So I don't know if the contractor's aware of if there's an opportunity to make that a little bit, clean it up a little bit.
Right, yes, I can definitely run it by the engineers and the contractor.
Appreciate
just to make sure, because we don't, the end goal of the project is to, create open space and to, have something, that the residents and everybody that utilizes it look forward to. We don't want to create a hindrance or any type of on residents or anybody. So
Absolutely, yeah.
I'll look into it.
Thank you for looking in.
Appreciate that. Any further questions or comments? No? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Made, seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Hope everybody has a great holiday.
You too.
Thank you.